Right now at 6 o'clock, they were a dangerous criminal gang, Jacksonville police say, which investigators have now dismantled with what's called Operation Crackdown. Sheriff Waters and State Attorney Nelson announced the arrest of these 19 suspected gang members.
These 7 men were part of the drug and gang investigation involving JSO, the DEA, and the ATF.
The Rolling 20s members and associates face charges ranging from murder to cocaine sale. Now, police made the arrests in 2 phases. The first, 22 members, and then the second phase.
The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has announced a series of successful operations that have led to the arrest and indictment of several gang members involved in criminal activities across the city. These operations, carried out in collaboration with the State Attorney's Office, the U.S. law enforcement agencies, targeted gangs such as the Insane Gangster Disciples, Rollin 20s, K4T, Problem Child Entertainment, and the 45th Street Gang. Investigations, which spanned several months and even years in some cases, resulted in numerous arrests and the seizure of firearms, drugs, and other evidence linking these gangs to various violent and illegal activities. These efforts highlight the commitment of law enforcement to dismantling organized criminal networks and restoring safety to affected communities.
Right now at 6 o'clock, they were a dangerous criminal gang, Jacksonville police say, which investigators have now dismantled with what's called Operation Crackdown. Sheriff Waters and State Attorney Nelson announced the arrest of these 19 suspected gang members.
That the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office arrested 19 members of the Insane Gangster Disciples, also known as IGD. Most seriously, the sheriff says one member, Chase Robeson, was responsible for of Devontae Jackson last May. I asked the state attorney about prosecuting all these suspects and if they're convicted, whether they'll remain behind bars.
A 6-month investigation has dismantled a West Side gang, arrested 19 people, and seized 18 guns, including an assault-style rifle, the sheriff says. Operation Crackdown left the Insane Gangster Disciples gang functionally extinct, Sheriff TK Waters said Tuesday. The gang, a loose subset of the Chicago-based Gangster Disciples, included members with nicknames like Mouse, Goofy G, and Wolf. Investigators from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office began tracking down members after a shooting in May 2022 deleted Devontae Jackson, 24, in a Kirkpatrick Circle condominium complex near Wilson Boulevard and Interstate 295, police said. The gang operates locally with its roots in Jacksonville's West Side, Waters said. Additionally, investigators learned that its members trafficked in narcotics and engaged in acts of violence. Given the dangers posed by these gang members, investigators crafted this operation with the intention of arresting as many members as possible to rid our community of this criminal organization. Illegal firearms, drugs, and a local criminal enterprise whose activities have caused immeasurable harm in our community have now been taken off the streets, Nelson said. Drug dealing by one of the suspects directly led to the death of a man in December, she said. Though he did not pull a trigger, his actions were just as deadly, she said. Edward Ganch, 44, was arrested on drug charges initially, but now faces a manslaughter charge, police said. Forensic research on the weapon showed the rifle was used to kill Jackson almost a year ago, Waters said. One of the handguns was used in shooting in 2021, he said. 13 men have been arrested in connection with a Northwest Jacksonville gang accused of engaging in a range of criminal activities in the area around West 45th Street and Moncrief Road. The arrests are the result of an 18-month collaborative investigation conducted by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Each individual was charged as a member of the 45th Street gang, according to arrest reports, and they all reside in Jacksonville. Under Sheriff Frank Mackesy stated that the gang members were involved in drug sales, theft, and conflicts with other criminal groups, creating a sense of fear and instability in the local community. While the authorities believe the gang has been responsible for more severe acts of violence, such as deletions and assaults, Mackesy indicated that these allegations have not yet been substantiated. One of those arrested, 22-year-old Tyrone Curtis Gant, faces additional charges related to a deletion as well as drug and firearm possession. Mackesy noted that the gang operated collectively without a single leader and that some of the suspects were already in custody on other charges. The gang is known to have worn specific colors and used coded hand signals and greetings, but Mackesy did not provide further details.
Murder. 46 alleged members of a dangerous gang are off the streets of Jacksonville following a long-term investigation by local and federal authorities.
Well, Katie, the sheriff went as far as to say that this gang, the Rolling 20s, has been dismantled. This was a large-scale operation. The sheriff says this gang has ties up and down the East Coast. Now, this investigation all started back in April 2016. Sheriff Mike Williams says the Rolling 20s gang is responsible for the planning and a man who was a witness in a separate case against a gang member. The Rolling 20s members and associates face charges ranging from murder to cocaine sale. Now, police made the arrest in two phases. The first, 22 members, and then the second phase, members and associates who tried to fill those voids.
41 individuals suspected of being members of the multi-state gang known as the Rolling 20s were arrested in Jacksonville following a two-phase investigation, according to an announcement by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Mike Williams also noted that 5 additional members remain at large and are currently wanted by authorities. The investigation initially began in response to the 2016 deletion of security guard Michael Wright. During the inquiry into this case, JSO focused on the primary suspect, Quinny Hudson. Wright was expected to testify against Hudson, who had been jailed in 2014 for allegedly throwing a concrete stone through a car window occupied by a woman and a small child. Hudson was later found guilty in 2017 for orchestrating a plot to delete Wright while in jail. As the investigation progressed, authorities uncovered Hudson's affiliation with the Rolling 20s, described as a structured organization within the Bloods gang. This connection revealed the gang's involvement in multiple acts of violence and criminal activities across Jacksonville, including deletions, attempted deletions, robbery, narcotics trafficking, firearms trafficking, arson, witness intimidation, and other serious offenses dating back to May 2015. Sheriff Williams stated that the Rolling 20s gang was more organized than the typical neighborhood-based street gangs usually seen in Jacksonville. The gang's hierarchy extended beyond the city into other regions, with branches in cities such as Augusta, Richmond, Baltimore, and various locations in California. The Rolling 20s' influence along the East Coast highlighted the breadth of their operations. Following the initial phase of the investigation, 22 suspected gang members were arrested in Jacksonville and charged by the state attorney's office. By the conclusion of the second phase, the total number of arrests had increased to 46, with some suspects facing federal charges. During the investigation, law enforcement seized over drugs.
This was a part of a long-term investigation into a gang and also into narcotics. And those men now in jail, if found guilty, they could be headed to prison.
Ian Brightman, the leader of a gang organization. Sheriff T.K. Waters explained during a news conference today that the gang members terrorized their Jacksonville community since 2019.
K4T was responsible for repeated acts of violence in this community, including multiple homicides.
JSO's focus was on Brightman and the 6 primary members of his organization. Brightman was arrested in January after a targeted traffic stop. His driver jumped out of the van armed with a knife and was shot and killed by JSO. Brightman's 8-year-old son was with him in the van. He was turned.
Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, in collaboration with the State Attorney's Office, and ATF, announced the successful outcome of Operation Bright Lights, a 2-month investigation that led to the arrest of the leader and 7 members of the K4T gang. The primary target of this operation was K4T leader Brian Brightman, whose gang has been implicated in multiple acts of violence throughout Jacksonville since 2019. The sheriff reported that K4T was involved in numerous incidents and engaged in narcotics trafficking to fund its activities, distributing significant quantities of drugs across the city. The goal of Operation Bright Lights was to dismantle the organization by removing its leadership, and Sheriff Waters believes that the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office succeeded in this objective. One of the firearms recovered was linked through ballistics evidence to a 2021 incident, highlighting the gang's connection to various crimes. During the investigation, the leader of K4T, Brian Brightman, was apprehended in a targeted traffic stop in Ocean Way. His driver, Eric Thornton, was fatally shot by a Jacksonville officer after brandishing a knife. Brightman's 8-year-old son was present in the vehicle at the time of the arrest. According to Sheriff Waters, the K4T gang had approximately 40 members and was distributing large quantities of drugs. The firearms recovered during the operation were linked to several crime scenes. One Glock pistol was connected to 4 separate incidents, while a rifle was associated with 2 crime scenes from the previous fall. Sheriff Mike Williams announced the arrest of 10 members of Problem Child Entertainment, a group that authorities say portrayed itself as a music collective, but was involved in a series of criminal activities, including robberies, shootings, drug trafficking, and other violent acts. This group is alleged to have been connected to several incidents, including the 2016 drive-by shooting that resulted in the deletion of 22-month-old Aiden McClendon. During a press conference, Sheriff Williams stood alongside a display of those arrested on federal racketeering charges, explaining that the investigation into PC spanned several years and concluded with a final arrest on November 10th. He stated that the group had been responsible for numerous firearm-related incidents over the past 3 years, including multiple acts of violence. Once PC was identified as a violent gang, law enforcement agencies concentrated their efforts on identifying the primary members and dismantling the organization. Authorities linked several members to various violent acts, including the 2016 drive-by incident involving Aiden McClendon and the July incident involving 23-year-old Glenn McNeil Jr. Sheriff Williams revealed that Jacksonville is home to about 40 documented gangs with approximately 800 members. He described PC as a street gang disguised as an entertainment group and declared that their reign of terror has come to an end, emphasizing that the community had endured enough. Among those arrested, Quaim Richardson, 18, faces multiple charges, including those related to Aiden's incident. Henry Hayes, 4, also 18, was previously arrested and charged in connection with the same incident. His older sister, Cynthia, 21, was taken into custody on charges of assisting other gang members by providing them with transportation and getaway vehicles. Sheriff Williams noted that this was a significant breakthrough in the investigation, which allowed authorities to piece together the connections between various members and link them to the organization. Danny Haddon, 20, faces 2 racketeering charges and has been linked to a firearm used in the Jacksonville Beach incident involving McNeil during 4th of July festivities. New evidence presented by prosecutors indicates that other members of the gang had plans to ambush a police officer in his patrol car using an assault-style rifle. However, law enforcement have been monitoring their activities, including social media and communication channels, and gathering intelligence from those already in custody. The extensive investigations and subsequent arrests of gang members in Jacksonville represent a significant step towards disrupting the operations of dangerous criminal organizations. By targeting these groups through coordinated efforts and utilizing laws such as the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations (RICO) statute, law enforcement agencies have demonstrated their resolve in holding those responsible for violent and illegal activities accountable. While these actions have significantly weakened the gangs involved, ongoing vigilance and community support will be crucial to preventing the resurgence of gang violence and ensuring long-term safety and stability in Jacksonville.